Good evening. Welcome to the December 6th Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Teresa, if you'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Flood? Here. Councilwoman Flood will be on the phone this evening. Councilwoman Standard? Here. Councilman Morelli?
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Here. Supervisor Barrett?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve Town Board meeting minutes of November 15th.
So moved.
Second. By Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mr. Morelli. Discussion. Okay, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Communications and announcements. Anybody tonight? Okay, we'll go straight to our public hearing. Teresa, if you would read the legal notice as it appeared in the Gazette.
Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, notice of public hearing to solicit public input regarding local output provisions of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act of 2021. Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park will conduct a public hearing on December 6, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Meeting Room in the Town Office Building located at 1 Town Hall Plaza, Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, to solicit public input in the output provisions of the MRTA as they relate to on-site locations for the retail dispensation of and or consumption of marijuana and cannabis products. Copies of the proposed local law are posted at the cliftonpark.org website and are available for review in the town clerk's office during normal business hours. And that was in the Schenectady Gazette on November 17th.
Okay, thank you very much. It's 7:02, so we have a couple of minutes here before we get started. The public notice describes the beginning of the hearing to be 7:05. So, anybody like to do a little number up here or something?
Phil, this is Amy. Can I just make one public announcement that I forgot about for the Groom's Tavern?
Yeah.
So they're having their holiday open house. They're calling it 12th night on Friday, January 7th. And it's going to be from 6:30 to 9 at the historic Groom's Tavern. The refreshments and the admission, everything is free to the public. But they're celebrating their open house 12th night. So I just wanted to, I almost forgot. Thank you.
Could you say that date again?
Thank you.
January 7th, Amy?
Yes, January 7th. It's the first Friday.
And that was 6:30.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good. 7:05. You heard the public notice as read by the clerk for our public hearing this evening. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There's also been quite a bit of press accounts of various municipalities that are considering the same topic. Just to get started real quick, personally, I have grave concerns as our society expands the availability and acceptance of drugs that are deemed legal for recreational use. Medical marijuana is, a separate category with distinct limitations. But at this point, New York State has made marijuana legal for recreational use. So that argument has been decided for New York State. Now each municipality must decide whether they will opt out of allowing sales through dispensaries within the town or on-site use of the drugs through what are deemed cannabis lounges. I was hopeful that there would be more information forthcoming from New York State about the regulations and rules as we reached the end of the year. We're almost there now. But that information has not been forthcoming. So making a decision to opt out of the program or opt into the program, I should say, a new program such as this is an extremely difficult decision without all the information. As a matter of fact, I thought the Schenectady Gazette may have had a good idea when they mentioned that putting the decision off for 6 months may be a good idea while the state disseminates more information to the municipalities. But so that's where we are today, and there's really a decision on those two separate items as I described. So with that being said, are there any other comments from the board before we start? Okay. All right, very good. So if you would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. We'll ask you to state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Yes. Hi, how are you tonight?
My name is Sylvia.
Oh, Sylvia, could you come right up here, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor Barrett, members of the board. I am here as a community advocate. I have lived in Clifton Park since 1977. When I first moved here, it looked like farmland in the middle of the Northway. And I said to my husband, what am I going to do here? Because I'm very social. However, I've seen it grow. I've seen bright futures for our community here, especially our teenagers and our young people. I am totally in favor of opting out for recreational cafes, restaurants, and dispensaries in Clifton Park for marijuana. I can't see where it would benefit our community at all. I think that my dearest friend who's passed away 2 years ago, Father Peter G. Young, who was an icon for rehabilitation for the homeless and the addicted. He worked with Governor Nelson Rockefeller to decriminalize alcoholism and get it recognized as a disease unless you get behind a car and drive. He has immense knowledge. He has put up over 3,000 shelters and addiction facilities all through the state of New York. And he was a dear friend of mine. And he said, this is a gateway drug for other drugs. And I'm sure you might have heard that from others after his passing, but I believe in him. I believe in his work. He has helped so many people. Everyone knows his name in Arbor Hill. Everyone knows his name in Hamilton Hill and throughout the states, Buffalo, Rochester, wherever, Brooklyn, Queens, Harlem, and of course, Albany. He has the Altamont Center there. So I'm here just to say, as a citizen of Clifton Park, that I hope we do opt out for this. We've seen our teenagers get killed. I won't mention names, with car accidents that were induced by another driver using alcohol and marijuana together. I can't see where this would benefit our community at all. I have a summer home in Warren County. Lake George has opted out. Bolton Landing, my little tiny town of Bolton, has opted out. And I would really, really be very, very pleased to see us show a lot of integrity and strength and opt out of this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Supervisor Britt, members of the board. My name is Daniel Kreplin. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I currently live in Clifton Park, and I believe that we should opt in. My reason for that is I believe that since the war on drugs, which was 50 years ago, there's been a stigma created about marijuana where it's kind of been villainized. And I think that, I mean, it's been used for over 5,000 years to our knowledge. And we only know that it has medicinal purposes. Obviously, there's more research that could be done with it, but that research had been stopped in 1970 when we passed the Substance Control Act, which also stated that there were no actual medicinal purposes to the drug, which is false. And it's been known for thousands of years that it does have medicinal purposes. I believe that we're kind of comparing it to, it's going to be compared to alcohol because it is a drug, and alcohol was prohibited at one point. We had to fight for that. But this, I think, is, if you're comparing it to alcohol or even any other drug, such as opioids, I think those are much worse. And this should have never been illegal in the first place. I think that this is something we're going to continue to fight for the rest of our lives. And I think that at some point we need to make progress. We need to look at it for what it is, realize it does have uses, and it's going to be used regardless. There's 2/3 of the United States that approve this drug that think it is beneficial. And I think that we need to end the stigma now and stop villainizing it. And since 50 years ago, since the Nixon era, all this has done is incarcerated primarily Black Americans. And I think that we need to stop using it to incarcerate, Americans. And I think that it's wrong what's being done. Seeing it, I think it's very privileged to say that it's bad, and I think we need to end that now. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I will note that you labeled it as a fight. You did win the fight. It is going to be available for recreational use in New York State as well as other states, as you mentioned. So that's been decided. Yes, sir. Dave.
Thanks, Supervisor Barrett. Dave Dittmer, 42 Canterbury Road, Clifton Park. I tend to be a pragmatist. I've been around long enough to know that things change, and I recognize the fact that it's been stated that marijuana is legal. Your point is absolutely valid. We don't know all the rules and all the implementation requirements yet. And I do understand the community character of Clifton Park. What I would advocate is, even though it is legal, it doesn't mean that we have to do it now, or that Clifton Park has to be an early adopter. Clifton Park has led the way in many things, green energy, for example, things like that I think is consistent with the character of Clifton Park. Clifton Park is a suburban area. It's a relatively affluent area, and it has very good employment right now. We're in a good place. I don't see the imperative to be an early adopter for this. I think we wait, we see what other towns do. If it plays out well and it turns out to be a benefit, great, we can adopt later. But I don't see a reason that we should be a front runner for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. In the back. you doing?
So my name is Riley Lynn Marin. I am a resident of the city of Albany. I am here to voice my support for legalizing the sale, distribution, and lounges for marijuana. The reason I say this is that it's a personal issue for me. 10 years ago, I won't use names for privacy reasons. My uncle, who is unfortunately no longer with me, was a victim of drug violence. He personally was a drug dealer. Now, I think legalizing the distribution of marijuana would make it safer to be in that profession. It would be regulated, and see, in my personal situation, there was a dispute between my uncle and one of his customers who did not want to provide payment for that marijuana. So 10 years ago, my uncle, his girlfriend, and my cousins, who at the time were age 4 and age 3, were all shot and brutally murdered because of this financial dispute that arose because there wasn't a safe and legal way to purchase marijuana. But that's my story. I hope that the town of Clifton Park will, help prevent things like this from happening in the future by making it legal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And sorry for your loss. It will be interesting to see, not necessarily just in Clifton Park, but throughout the state, what it will do to the illegal sale of marijuana. You still have that competition, I believe, that will continue. You will have these businesses, as you state, that will be regulated and will be selling the drug legally. But there's a great deal of overhead to establishing that business from just a regulatory standpoint and your day-to-day expenses that you would incur with any business that you operate. So it'll be interesting to see what does happen to the illegal sale. Will that continue as much as it does now? How will that change? How will that dynamic change based on the costs associated with operating the business versus somebody who does not have that overhead and is still selling marijuana illegally? So that'll be an interesting question and something that we'll only know through the benefit of time. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Hi, how are you?
Supervisor Barrett, President of the Board, thank you very much for having us here this evening.
Sure.
I brought a couple of pieces of paper up here, but I don't think I'm going to read through
Would
all
you
of
state
them.
your name, please?
Oh, yes, of course. Katrina McCarthy, 600A Wake Road, Clifton Park, New York. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
As I was saying, I have a couple of sheets of paper up here, but I don't think I'm going to read through all of them. I'll start off by saying I'm opting in. With the advent of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, the state of New York has opted to open a brand new corner of the retail market for adult use marijuana. New Yorkers over the age of 21 are now legally permitted to use recreational marijuana, but have no established business to purchase it or its additional accoutrement. Given the potential for $3.1 billion in annual sales, $1.3 billion annually in tax revenue, and the creation of 30,000 to 60,000 jobs, the need for retail establishments and those willing to operate them is high. Unfortunately, there is no viable New York State business model to compare to, so setting the standard for what a recreational marijuana dispensary and shop can provide, the Capital District is required. Challenge accepted. A social and economic equity program will facilitate individuals disproportionately impacted by cannabis enforcement, including creating a goal of 50% of licenses to go to minority or women-owned business enterprises or distressed farmers or service-disabled veterans to encourage participation in the industry. That was said by former Governor Cuomo when he signed the legislation on March 31st. He's still on the first page. Presently in the state of New York, the only way to purchase marijuana legally is by obtaining a medical marijuana card from a licensed physician. The purchase of medical marijuana is tied up in medical dispensaries that legally cannot provide cannabis products outside the medical necessity. While this method of access was hailed for those who with approved medical need, this excluded a large segment of the population that had also found and touted other lifestyle benefits from using. MRTA and recreational retail dispensaries will give access to marijuana to everyone without medical stipulation. My business will eventually spearhead the challenge of creating a standard of excellence in the retail recreational marijuana industry should Clifton Park go with us and opt in. This will be by aligning with the pulse beat of state legislation and regulations while celebrating the state's mission of decriminalization and reversing the effects of targeted minority communities, of which I check 3 boxes. I am a woman, disabled veteran, and what was the other one?
Minority.
Yeah, that too. So I'm going to put these down and use the last of my time to tell you guys that if we are able to opt in as a municipality, we'll be helping more people than we're hurting. The amount of accidents that happen behind the wheel of a car strictly because of marijuana are damn near non-existent, okay? And if we can celebrate a veteran opening a liquor store in Clifton Park and patron his store, you can patron mine. Have a great day.
Thank you. Yes, sir? Jim, Green? Yes, sir, come on up.
Supervisor Barrett.
How are you?
Members of the board. My name is Jim Easton. I live on Bishop Ferry Road in Clifton Park. Clifton Park is a great town. It's a great place to live. I think that's why we're all here. I fail to see how allowing commercial marijuana sales in Clifton Park is anything positive or brings really anything to our community. I personally don't support sale or consumption, on site in Clifton Park, and I hope that the board will opt out of both. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to? Yes, sir, come on up. All right. One more. How you doing tonight?
Hello, sir. I'm AJ Constrin, and I'm in 6 Castle Pines, Clifton Park.
Hi, how are you?
Good to meet you guys. Thank you for everything. I don't know if I would say this is a sort of an age issue, or because young people come in and says opt in, and then folks come to say, hey, I come from a generation that my dad would say, never touch that. The other day, my 17-year-old nephew said, hey, when can we go to Massachusetts to buy some Glen together? I was like, are you kidding me? Grandpa will kill you. So we're at the time that we're changing, we're evolving. In this, I'm a business guy, and I see numbers. If Saratoga Springs is allowing consumption and sale, if this deal is selling, if Glendale is selling, if Schenectady is selling, anyone here who wants to buy, they'll go there. So the tax money that we have here will go to them. It's not like we're gonna stop our kids or anyone who's afraid that they will get hurt from consumption. Not having it here will not have people smoke or consume or edible, any of those. I've been, after this, I've been researching and I've been seeing who is opting out, who's opting in. I'm a father of 3 kids, so my father decided to say, I don't want my kid to be in a, smoke a drug or consume. But then I look at it as, like he mentioned, for the last 5,000 to 6,000 years, there is not even a single death from consumption of marijuana. You have to consume so much of it to basically die from smoking of it, not the actual product. So I'm standing here saying opt in only because eventually, our sales, our kids, everything that we're afraid that we're going to lose to, we're going to go to different towns and different areas and consume and buy others. And instead of, getting this business to other towns, might as well invest it back into Clifton Park. And as much as I love Clifton Park, like he said, I want it to be a good, safe place. But if we control it, if we have strong control over our kids, I'm thinking more of control is better than them going to the, so to speak, drug dealers or the back of the house or people that they don't know what they're buying. I've been myself in situations that I've had, like, younger times when I was at little kids, I would go buy something very afraid, like sort of a deal like on the side, like you would do it on the street, very quiet. Now that, like you said, if we can educate the kids, educate the people who want to consume to what this is, if it's good for you, if it's not good for you, should you do it, should you not do it, should you do it instead of all these pills that you take. I think there's a huge time for educating our kids, our new generation, to introduce them to, hey, this is not as bad as category 2 or category 1 drug that DEA had it for all this time. In fact, nobody had died from it. And I hear that accident, I was a friend of my family too, and I remember that. And they did blame that marijuana was involved with the alcohol, but when they looked into it, the marijuana part had nothing to do with the accident. Maybe they were drunk and they were, I'm not a big advocate of it because obviously it's new. Like I said, I'm coming from a generation that my parents would probably disagree if I'm standing here and wanted to be opted. I'm just more of a number guy that we don't want to lose out on the taxes that we could save, the business opportunities that we might have for people, the job opportunities that we might have. We just have to educate the people around us, like, hey, this isn't as bad as it was introduced to us. So I hope you stay opt in, and that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Sure.
Ben? Yes. How you doing?
Mr. Barrett. Board. My name is Eileen Cardone. I'm 6 Carpenter Way. Never really been to one of these meetings before, but when I heard this was the discussion, I felt like I needed to come. I would like to opt out of having it. There's a lot of information on both sides, but I'm just here to state my opinion. I know it's legal in the state of New York. There's a reason I live in Clifton Park, and I don't think the marijuana has a place here in town. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak at this time? Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for your.
Can I make a few comments?
Oh, yeah, I was just thanking everybody. Just want to thank everybody for your input, and at this point, we do have resolutions prepared that we can pass out. Now, if a municipality makes the choice to opt out, then that requires an action. No action is basically opting in. So one requires an action, the other one doesn't.
There's 2 separate resolutions, potential resolutions in there, Teresa. One for opting out of the on-site consumption locations, and one right behind it for opting out of the retail.
Okay. So I want to get comments from the board. And John, I want you to just review the zoning real quick. I'll get back to that. But Councilman Morelli?
Thank you, Supervisor. So just a few comments, and I appreciate all the input from the public. I personally, on behalf of this board, will be voting for us to opt out of this legislation, and there are three main reasons. It is villainized, and the reason I believe it's been villainized over the years is because it is a gateway drug. It may be legalized in our state, and I appreciate the efforts of our state leaders, but it continues to be a gateway drug, a gateway to other illegal drugs, and that's not something I can support in our town. It's not something I can support making convenient or close to my children. Secondly, the issues around driving and impairment are severe, and the reason why there's not a lot of statistics around this particular topic with regard to marijuana is there's not a good way to measure the amount of marijuana in one's system if someone is pulled over. That is still an evolving science, so we don't know if someone is at a lounge, at a dispensary, what is a safe, when does the owner or the front desk person know when that person is impaired and not able to operate a motor vehicle? How do we ask our owners to take that on? And to me, that's making our streets less safe by allowing this consumption in our town. And the third reason, Supervisor, you mentioned, I think at your beginning comments, is the regulations around this really are still evolving. There's still a lot to be decided. There's still a lot. This is a framework to me, a framework legislation that we're being asked to vote on as a town, and there really needs to be a lot more meat on the bones from the state level. And there have been some proposals to push this off at the state level for some time to kind of get that meat and that definition, but I don't want to be the first one as a municipality to figure this out as we go. So I would like, and I can tell you this board and me specifically, I have been incredibly supportive of our business community, always. This board is always supportive of our business community. We welcome businesses. We've had a ton of grand openings just over the last several months with new owners taking up shop in our town, and we encourage that, and we do everything as a board we can to support that. By us opting out of this isn't us not supporting the business community. This is seeking to continue to have a safe community for all of us, for all of our residents, for all of our children.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on a couple of things there, Councilman Borelli. This discussion of whether marijuana is a gateway drug or not, I understand it's a very contentious debate and discussion. There's information on both sides that you can find online. Marijuana does remain a Schedule I drug per the federal government. So that designation is still in place. I think the best answer that I have found as far as the gateway drug question, there was a special agent from the FBI. And rhetorically asked himself, is it a gateway drug? And he didn't answer that to himself, yes or no, but he did say, and I'm paraphrasing, but he did say, if you use marijuana, you're more likely to graduate to harder drugs. And it's not a big leap from marijuana to opiates. So, is it 100% of people that might use marijuana recreationally? Is it a gateway drug for 100% of the people that use it recreationally? Do they graduate to harder drugs? Of course not. It's not even close. But it is more likely, and there is a significant percentage. As far as the business side of things, over the last couple of decades, we've worked very hard to grow our economy and diversify our economy, and thankfully we've been very successful. The town has a full market value of $5.5 billion. So far this year, the county sales tax has generated 110 million plus. Clifton Park sales tax is 11 million plus this year so far. I'm not concerned with losing revenue if we do not opt in. just looking at it solely from a revenue standpoint, if you ask me, is there any concern that the town would lose a significant amount of revenue? Will that revenue have any effect, positive or negative, on the town's finances? And are you worried that people might go somewhere else, as the gentleman mentioned, to purchase? Could be another municipality, could be another county. Although there have been a number of municipalities that have opted out. And the answer to that is no. I think any revenue would be negligible. And to think that that Clifton Park wouldn't continue to thrive because we don't add a pot dispensary or two to our large economy here in the town, I'm just not concerned about it, and I don't think it'll have any negative effect as far as our financial condition. And it's not a zero-sum game. We have many new businesses that have opened recently. We have many new businesses that open each year. We do have some turnover, obviously. We have a tremendous amount of reinvestment in new ventures, which is terrific. And all of those businesses do have a role in generating sales tax in their own way. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Any other comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Well,
Hi. Actually, I personally am from Buffalo, but I'm not know right now. But from what I hear from law enforcement, one of the biggest concerns is not necessarily the marijuana that's being on the street, it's what's being added to it. That's the very most dangerous thing. And it doesn't look to me like there's any way to regulate that. Somebody may come to your shop on a weekly or monthly basis, but the person who walks out with it could add anything to it and give it to someone else.
Could they not do the same with a bottle of booze from a liquor
But
store? So why can't I sell weed, but he can sell liquor?
But I can regulate that, I can't regulate.
But the state can also regulate weed. That's the whole point of why we're here, right?
Yeah,
The state can regulate that. They can get behind it. They can see that there are people who want to do it correctly. They want to do it in the light of day. We're tired of it being in the streets and in the ghetto and dark and dank and nasty. We want to raise it up. We want to elevate it to a point where everyone can use it, not just for the fun of a Friday night, but a woman can take marijuana, process it down, and make a pastry business out of the oil that
That doesn't, okay, but that doesn't really address my issue of how the nuggets, the dangerous things that are added to the marijuana.
So that's what I mean, the people in the back alley.
I didn't mean to start.
No, I know you did, but that's okay.
To your point, I mean, the stuff that you're afraid that they might add to it is mainly in the back street that you see.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a
crime. Dispensaries, there are huge companies involved in that, and they're making sure nothing. The whole purpose is for people to learn that this is a pure product, that this is for.
Much like your medical dispensaries, a retail.
well, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens as far as the illegal trade as well as the legal trade, and how that illegal trade evolves, continues perhaps, grows, or maybe subsides. We just don't know at this point. But we do know there will be a significant price difference, I would assume. Again, because you have a legal business with a lot of overhead and the other option of buying the drug, which is in the back alleys, as you mentioned. Anybody else? Okay. All right, John, I'd like you to go through the zoning, please. When medical marijuana was made available, at that time, we established zoning as to where the businesses and those dispensaries could be located. And a good part of the reasoning was, I figured that at some point in the near future that recreational marijuana would be made legal. I think at that time I said 5 years, so fairly close. But so we have zoning that has been established for medical marijuana dispensaries. So I think we were very proactive back in 15 when we completed this zoning review. I think it would behoove us to be proactive and take a look at that zoning, be reminded of it, and decide if we need to make further changes as we go forward. I mean, I would think at some point it will be sold in this town, whether it's 2022 or at some year in the future. And I think it would behoove us to make sure the town is prepared for that. So John, go ahead. If you would just go over where the medical marijuana dispensaries are allowed, or where any new dispensaries might be allowed.
Sure. It was local law number 8 of 2015 that allowed the medical marijuana dispensaries. And that was a result of former Governor Cuomo's Compassionate Care Act, which was signed into legislation July 5th of 2014. At that time, we were made aware that the New York State Department of Health would authorize a limited number of registered organizations which would be allowed and licensed by the state to operate up to 4 locations to dispense medical marijuana products pursuant to that regulation. At least one potential organization approached the town about the desire of doing such within Clifton Park. Guidance from New York State at that time was very limited. The provisions indicated that dispensaries should not be located within residential zones, with municipalities to make local decisions on specific land use and determinations. It provided for medical marijuana dispensaries as an allowed use, and the town, as a result of public hearings, public input, looking at the information that was being presented at that time, Supervisor Barrett, a lot of the information that we had provided came from the Drug Policy Alliance and Marijuana Policy Project, which were pro-legalization lobbyists. So that's why we basically acknowledged at that time, it's not a matter of if, it's when recreational marijuana would be before this board and being considered by the town.
Right.
The town did authorize the B4 residential highway business district, specifically along Route 9 from Zappone Motors south to basically the Half Moon Town border over by the Target and Crossings Boulevard Plaza, Crossings Plaza, to allow for a medical marijuana facility to be located. In addition to 1,000 feet from residential areas, we also added, in places of worship, we added schools and daycares to our specific local law legislation. We did not authorize Route 146 because when you looked at the dispersion of the statewide licenses with potentially one medical marijuana facility in the capital region, you could draw an intrinsic circle of potentially a customer area of 9 million people. So, you know, the proximity of 146 to the exit 9 interchange was a concern. So Route 9 was a better location for moving traffic through that corridor because there's not a lot of opportunities for ingress and egress to the businesses on 146 heading east. So that was adopted by local law. There's a map up there displaying those 2 zones. We did have interest. I think there is a medical marijuana dispensary that did locate just outside of this corridor in the town of Half Moon, but they were looking within this area at that time.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. So that's another aspect to this that you know, we'll have to consider as we move forward. And sir, Mr.
Connolly.
Yeah, from the press.
We were just looking for clarification on the second part of the resolution about outdoor consumption. If it does not pass, does that mean outdoor consumption in private businesses or outdoor consumption anywhere in the town of Clifton Park?
Well, where the town has no smoking, then you will not be able to smoke marijuana in those places, and that includes our parks and trails. That was another proactive measure that we took several years ago, and I'm glad we did. So that way, if as it is legalized in New York State, there are restrictions as to public areas where you can smoke marijuana, just like cigarettes or any other.
So essentially, it would not be allowed anywhere where cigarettes can be smoked.
Right.
Okay, so inside the building. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, at this point, I'll close the public hearing. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and stating your opinions. I know this is a discussion that's occurring throughout New York State and many other states around the country. It's a topic that has strong feelings on both sides, and I certainly respect everybody's opinion that might not square with my opinion on this particular topic, but I do respect your opinion and appreciate you being here. All right, we do have several items on the agenda. Teresa, if you go through and read the resolutions, please.
A resolution approving an award recommendation from the Community Action Fund, whereas by resolution number 46 of 2019, the town board established the Community Action Fund Committee to offer opportunities to back nonprofit community programs and organizations that support people in Clifton Park. And whereas by resolution number 92 of 2019, the town board approved the criteria for selecting and granting awards, which may range from a minimum of $250 to a maximum of $1,000. And funding is generated by the donation of bottles and cans redeemed for a deposit. And whereas an application for a Community Action Fund grant was received by the application deadline of September 30th, 2021 from Father Patrick J. Butler of St. Edward of the Confessor for their project called Our House, a safe place for young adults with developmental disabilities to gather and socialize, but was inadvertently amended from the listed applicants forwarded to the committee for review. Now therefore be it resolved that the comptroller is authorized to increase general fund community action fund contributions in the amount of $1,000 and to issue a check for $1,000 to be paid from general fund community programs community action fund. Resolution authorizing the purchase of a 1.8 cubic yard tornado spreader for the Department of Buildings and Grounds, whereas Daniel Clemens, Director of Buildings, Parks and Recreation, requested authorization to purchase a salt spreader that can be installed in the back of a 3/4-ton pickup truck, and whereas Tyrus Incorporated, Fort Edward, New York, provided the lowest responsive quote for the spreader per the attached quote at a total cost not to exceed $5,767. And whereas Daniel Clemens has recommended the equipment be purchased from Tyrus Incorporated, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the Director of Buildings, Parks and Recreation to purchase a 1.8 cubic yard spreader from Tyrus Incorporated, 268 Topard Road, Fort Edward, New York, in a total amount not to exceed $5,767 from Clinton Common Equipment. A resolution awarding the contract for landscape work in the Long Hill 1 Park District to Greg's Seasonal Service, whereas quotes were received by the town board as commissioners of the Long Hill 1 Park District for seasonal landscape work, including various landscaping services for the Country Knolls pool area, ball fields at Martin Jewett Park, sign beautification and maintenance, as well as spring and fall cleanup. And whereas the lowest conforming quote for the landscaping and field maintenance services was submitted by Greg's Seasonal Service, 25 Lake Road, Waterford, New York, whereas Greg's Seasonal is known to the town to provide competent and timely landscaping services. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board as commissioners of the Long Hill 1 Park District hereby awards the contract to Greg's Seasonal Services, Waterford, New York, for landscape and field maintenance work in the Long Hill 1 Park District at a cost not to exceed $35,000 for the 2022 season, to be budgeted at $3,000 from Long Hill 1 Park District Country Knolls pool, other program supplies, and the remainder from Long Hill 1 Park District General. A resolution amending the holiday schedule for town hall hours. Whereas by resolution number 1 of 2021, the town board adopted a holiday schedule which provided for a full day schedule on December 30th, 2021, notwithstanding its designation as the observance of New Year's Eve. And whereas the current collective bargaining agreement with CSCA Local 1000 for union employees provides that the last working days prior to Christmas and New Year's Day or their equivalent shall be half days. And whereas the town board wishes to provide the same holiday schedule for union and non-union employees for the 2021 holidays. Now therefore be it resolved that the town hall and facilities will be open on a half-day schedule on Thursday, December 30th, 2021, consistent with the existing CSCA contract. A resolution accepting an offer of dedication of the road system and utility stormwater easements within the Rolling Meadows subdivision. Whereas pursuant to New York State Highway Law 171 and Section 17923 of the Town Code, the town board has the discretion to accept the dedication of roads and real property for public use. And whereas pursuant to the approved plans for the Rolling Meadows subdivision, developers ER Land Development LLC Shaker builders have offered to dedicate a road system including certain drainage facilities and stormwater management areas, along with easements over several approved lots for drainage purposes within the subdivision. And whereas the town's determination to accept the road system was contingent upon the completion of the road construction, including top coat drainage facilities, as well as detailed items related to the approved subdivision plan. And whereas Prime Engineering has completed inspections and reports that all punch list items have been completed. And whereas Highway Superintendent Dan Bull concurs in the acceptance of the road system at this time. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board accepts the offer of dedication of Rolling Meadows Lane, Dunhelder Drive Extension, Wiggle Way Extension, and Fieldstone Drive as depicted on the approved subdivision map, and as more particularly described in the relevant deeds, as well as the dedication of certain stormwater management areas and utility easements as listed in the attached deeds and descriptions, subject to the final approval of the town attorney of all real estate transfer documents, review of title, and confirmation of the payment of appropriate taxes. A resolution authorizing the update of the town zoning map utilizing funds available through a Saratoga County Economic Development Fund grant. Whereas the town has been awarded a grant from the Saratoga County Economic Development Fund in the amount of $7,100, and whereas eligibility for economic development funding includes updates to land use regulations pertaining to solar facility siting and farmland protections. And whereas by resolution number 241 of 2021, the town board adopted updated zoning text regulations as well as earlier amendments to the zoning code for the town center. And whereas the town board wishes to authorize updates to the town's existing zoning map, last updated in 2006 by Clough Harbor and Associates. And whereas the project has utilized available grant funds working with Freeman Peterson to create the new zoning map in GIS layers that are easily modifiable and can be used for various mapping services going forward for the town. And whereas GPI has notified the planning department that additional funding is required to complete the town-wide zoning map update project in the amount of $3,200. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appropriates $3,200 from engineering services for GPI to complete an update and conversion to GIS digital format of the 2006 Town of Clifton Park zoning map. A resolution authorizing the supervisor and the superintendent of highways to execute a mutual aid agreement with the town of Half Moon for the 2021-2022 winter season. Whereas the ramps and configurations of the temporary bridge over the I-87 interstate highway at Sirdley Road may impact the ability of the highway department to utilize heavy plows in that area under certain weather events this upcoming winter season. And whereas highway departments within both towns seek to enter into a mutual aid agreement to divide snowplow responsibilities in a way that makes access to this area more practical for both departments and to minimize the impact of the temporary bridge on the snow plow operations of both towns. And whereas pursuant to New York State Town Law, Chapter 32, the town board may authorize the highway superintendents to enter into intermunicipal and mutual aid agreements not inconsistent with the state highway law. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds and determines that the proposed agreement for the mutual exchange of responsibilities to maintain defined areas of particular roadways within the town of Half Moon in exchange for a similar delegation of maintenance responsibility over defined Clifton Park roadways is in the public interest. And be it further resolved that the supervisor and superintendent of highways is authorized to execute the attached agreement for the mutual aid of both townships during weather events for the 2021-22 winter season. A resolution approving the extension of contract with Passport Labs Incorporated for web services associated with enforcing traffic violations. Whereas resolution number 241 of 2018 authorized the supervisor to enter into a contract with Passport Labs for cloud-based software for the issuance and payment of parking violations. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 194 of the Town Code, town security enforces parking regulations through the issuance of citations and warnings for violations using a Passport Labs application on portable devices as necessary. And whereas by local law number 4 of 2019, the town board established an administrative traffic violations bureau for the efficient resolution of parking citations and warnings for the efficient management of parking enforcement within the town. And whereas the passport system and parking violations agency have successfully streamlined the enforcement process and has enabled the town and court system to eliminate an extensive backlog of unresolved citations and has provided operators with a convenient method to contest and resolve such citations. And whereas the town board wishes to extend the agreement for 1-year terms, which may be renewed annually for up to 4 years upon mutual consent with a continuation of current financial terms. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached extension for software licensing and service agreement with Passport Labs Incorporated.
All set? Any questions on the resolutions? Okay. If you would read the headings for us, please, Teresa.
Resolution number 268 of 2021, a resolution approving an award recommendation for the Community Action Fund. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Morelli. I was asked about this application after we had already completed the process, and I said, well, it wasn't on our list of applications, but due to an internal error, it was omitted. We do have additional funds available in the Community Action Fund. Again, for those that don't know, we accept donations of bottles and cans at the transfer station, and that money goes to many organizations within the town on an annual basis. So this year with this will be over $17,000 awarded to how many 21, 22 organizations at this point, and individuals to support our town. And again, that's all without any tax money being used. So we appreciate all those donations. We have that new board up on the receptacles at the transfer station, listing out who received funding for this year, and we did that throughout the program to show people that are donating that yes, your money is going to a large number of programs within the town. So we apologize for the oversight, but we're able to have the opportunity to make up for it tonight. Discussion.
It's a great cause. I'm glad we're able to support it.
Thank you. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 269 of 2021, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 1.8 cubic yard tornado spreader for the Department of Buildings and Grounds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowit, second by Mr. Morelli. Dan, tell us about the tornado.
Yeah, so this is yeah.
Is it tornado?
Tornado,
Tomato, tomato.
When we were going through our salters, prepping for the winter season, we found one of them that was in pretty rough shape. The bed chains were pretty rusted up. It ran on a gas engine, that was in good shape. So the amount of money we would have had to put into this thing, we decided we'd like to go with this direction with the tornado, which is a poly spreader. It means that the hopper is built out of plastic and it runs on an electric motor that's hooked right to the truck, so you don't have to stop and fill with gas. Much more efficient, and last the salt doesn't tear the plastic up near as bad as metal. So yeah, this is gonna go in the back of one of our 3/4 ton trucks and use it all over the place. And unfortunately, probably pretty quick here. When this is,
Yeah.
winter.
Well, had to start at some point.
Indeed.
We're still looking at some possible snow for Wednesday, right?
Yes, just a little bit right now, but.
Although one loop has it as a rain event only,
I'll take that one.
so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, good to be ready. All right, any questions for Dan at this point? Okay, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 270 of 2021, a resolution awarding the contract for landscape work in the Long Hill 1 Park District to Greg Seasonal Service.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Dan?
Yeah, so we'll skip right by the winter and go into spring for this resolution.
Right, I like that idea.
So the agreement has expired here at the end of the year for the Long Hill 1 Park District landscape and maintenance. So we put it out there in an RFP and got a few prices back. The first one I almost fell over on. It was $70-some thousand. But this one came in and it definitely was an increase over the last contract. But obviously everything's gone up. Fuel costs have gone up. Paying your help has gone up. Everything like that. So, but Greg is the one who's been doing it for the last couple of years, and I think he does a heck of a job up there. He sends a good crew in, they get after it. There's never a problem with him. I discussed it with Glenn Valley, the Park District Chair up there, and he was also pretty pleased with Greg. Thought that the increase in price was reasonable considering the times. So he recommended that we put this before you for a vote to hire Greg Seasonal back for a few more years.
Very good. And great job on the decorations, by the way.
Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Sir, it's really good.
Thank you.
It's all good.
All right, discussion. All right, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 271 of 2021, a resolution amending the holiday schedule for town hall hours.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard.
Yes, just quickly, this is just an effort to make, the way the resolution states, to make fairness to all employees. Union employees are working a half day on the holiday, non-union the whole day, and these are people who sometimes share the same office space. Our staff gives us 100% every single day. They're loyal and have really had a difficult year, and we really appreciate everything they do for us. I regret that I did not catch this at the organizational meeting. I will watch the next organizational meeting to make sure that the holidays are just for both the union and non-union staff members.
Yeah, and the way the current structure has been in place for a number of years. I don't recall how many, but it's been some time. Personally, I don't like the fact that we have half days. That was part of the union contract back again in the 90s. Because that is 9 more hours that town hall's closed in a week's time, where it should be open. So I've never liked the idea of those half days, but like I said, it's been part of the union contract, and once it's in the union contract, it needs to be agreed upon by both sides to change it, and it just never got to that point. Now going into next year, there'll be a new federal and state holiday next year, Juneteenth. That'll be 13 holidays for town employees. The town has a very generous leave with pay, sick day, personal day policy. I think that's quite clear. And on average, the non-union employees are the highest paid. So in an effort to keep town hall open at least through New Year's Eve, that's why the structure has been in place for a number of years. Now, a lot of people do take that day off, and I'm sure they will this year. I don't know what the status is in your department, for instance, Dan, but you know, I can see a scenario where people are taking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, with only using a day and a half, right? And that's just due to where the holidays fall. So in other words, the half of Christmas Eve observed would be on Thursday. So that would be a day till 12:30. And then half day New Year's Eve observed would be the following Thursday. And then on the following Fridays, 24th and 31st, you have Christmas Day observed and New Year's Day observed. So that's the way the holidays fall this year. So it, from that standpoint, it's you know, making this change is means that town hall is going to be closed on Christmas Day observed on Friday, the 24th, and then the following Friday, obviously, as well, and then only a half day on Thursday, the 30th. If I have that right, Mark, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So, so with that being said, you know, it was on my short list this year as we go through the union contract to talk about that with the union. We're in negotiations currently. So whether it would be changed for the union employees or not, I don't know. But that gives everybody a little bit of background as far as why things were set up the way they are. So that's about it.
Okay, I really, don't think that there's a whole lot of activity in the schooling between noon and 5 on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. And it seems to me that we owe our staff every gratitude that we can give to them. And I think that the public also would agree that they deserve to have the vacation time that they deserve. If I don't think they should be penalized by having to take personal days. If they want to take lapsing vacation days, every department has set up for making sure that not every employee in the department is missing at the same time. And that's responsibility. Our team does work very well together to make sure that that doesn't happen, to make sure that the public is always served. And some of our departments are even 24/7, even through the holidays, and we especially appreciate that. So I think that we owe them every gratitude that we can give to them.
Yeah, I agree, but we also have the responsibility to be open as much as possible. I understand that's during a holiday week, but you know, residents of the town take time off during that time, and a lot of them do come to town hall and want to conduct business during that time when it can be very inconvenient for them to make it at other points of the year. So having that time available for serving residents that have the opportunity to visit town hall, or again, just to be open in case something happens.
Has this been an issue in years past, or was it in previous years under this contract addressed at the organizational meeting holidays?
Well, like I said, do you remember what year? I don't remember the year or how long it's been this structure, but again, the idea was to keep town hall open as much as possible during that holiday week, considering that there's already a half day on Christmas Eve. So as far as the union's concerned, it's always been in the union contract, so they have always had that 12:30 half day on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. That has not always been the case for non-union employees.
Mark, did you find an answer to?
It's been about 10 years that the town has been open on New Year's Eve, excuse me. We've always had Christmas Eve off at 12:30.
10 years. So I appreciate Councilwoman Wallowit's effort for providing this resolution up for consideration tonight. Our union employees have great representation and they have a great collective bargaining unit to fight for them in their holidays. Our non-union employees do not. And I have spoken to many non-union employees about this particular issue. And if a resident does need to be provided service on a holiday, that is not an issue for many people. Many of the employees here go above and beyond, especially if there's a weather event or an emergency, we go above and beyond always. I think that I appreciate the value that you're putting in our non-union employees for this. And I think that they appreciate it as well, because very little does happen in this building on these holidays. And so this is just a great way to appreciate our non-union employees, finally.
Yes, that's why I wanted to do it.
Well, the holiday well, the holidays at this time of year are Christmas and New Year's Day. I mean, those are the holidays. The fact that there's additional time off allowed on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, that's outside of the actual holiday. So the holidays, no, nobody's here on Christmas Day or New Year's Day, or Thanksgiving, or the day after Thanksgiving, for that matter. So anyway, okay. Anyone else? Okay, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood? Yes. Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilmember Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
No.
Resolution number 272 of 2021, a resolution accepting an offer of dedication of the road system and utility stormwater easements within the Rolling Meadows subdivision.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mrs. Flood. John, Rolling Meadows.
Yes, this is an older subdivision that started in 2002 in front of the planning board with the Western Clifton Park GEIS in a moratorium. Did not get approvals to 2006. In 2008, the housing market crashed. So unfortunately, it did not come to fruition until about 2015 with construction. The builder did a great job constructing the roads, homes over the last 5 years. He's at the point where all the homes have been built out in accordance with the specifications approved by the planning board. The roads, the stormwater management systems have been constructed to the town standards, and are therefore being offered for dedication this evening.
Very good. Any discussion, questions for John?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilmember Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 273 of 2021, a resolution authorizing the updating of the town zoning map, utilizing funds available through a Saratoga County Economic Development Fund grant.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Morelli, second by Mrs. Standard. John?
Yes, the town received money from Saratoga County to update the zoning map and other land use criteria relative to the solar moratorium that we did.
Right.
And it resulted in us doing a lot of in-house modifications. So the one missing piece was updating the zoning map to reflect changes. And as a result, we're also incorporating the recent changes in our town center zoning district. We're also taking what is a static paper map and digitizing what was previously done in an Illustrator program to GIS layers that is much more malleable going forward, that we can make amendments and modifications as needed and update more frequently in a more cost-effective way as changes are made, whether it's zoning changes relative to PDDs, the overlay districts, or modifications with the town center going forward. In addition to that, the shape files will allow us, the town's been very good of giving away paper maps We order thousands at a time, and 3-4 years later, we're ordering 5,000 more. But as the years have gone on, I think it's been 5 years since our last order. So the gap is becoming longer because people are used to using digital devices that now scale what you're looking for. So these shape files and digitizing the zoning map will be adaptable to that technology moving forward.
Very good. Now, I'm very proud of this program, the Saratoga County Economic Development Fund. It was a program that I put forward when I was chair of economic development for Saratoga County back in 19. It was part of many changes we made to the funding structure and other aspects of our economic development program within the county. And this was intended to take funds that are derived through bed tax receipts used for economic development and get those funds into the municipalities directly so they could either initiate or continue economic development plan and community planning efforts to benefit the town. And I think this was a very good use of those funds for Clifton Park. And I know municipalities throughout the county have engaged in this Saratoga County Economic Development Fund for the few years it's been in existence, and it's been very successful. So personally, I'm very proud of that program. Any questions for John? Okay, Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standart?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 274 of 2021, a resolution authorizing the supervisor and the superintendent of highways to execute a mutual aid agreement with the town of Half Moon for the 2021-22 winter season. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowitz. This is an intermunicipal agreement, another one with the town of Half Moon, and we have a great working relationship with them. Was at a meeting, regional meeting last week, and DOT gave an update on the timeline for the full replacement of the Sidley Road Bridge, and they are expecting to start the full replacement in early spring, and they have the goal of completing the full replacement of the Sidley Road Bridge by the time school begins in 2022. So that is a rather lengthy period of time that Sidley Road will not be able to be fully accessed. But that is the reality of the situation, and we'll all need to adjust to it. There's just no other way around it. At this meeting, I applauded DOT for their addition of shoulders in the sidewalk on the new bridge that'll be installed. So that is a very good improvement. They're also going to make the bridge somewhat higher than it is now. They're going to complete as much of the subsurface work as they can prior to early spring. And you can see them working out there recently. I would imagine as soon as the weather turns hard, and it eventually will, maybe they'll stop. But for now, they have been doing different elements of the subsurface work. All right, so that's the current situation. So it's definitely going to be an adjustment as we go through the spring and summer. Any further discussion?
Yes, Highway Superintendent Dan Bull regrets his absence at the meeting. He wanted to discuss this resolution. He is currently responding to some downed trees throughout town due to the weather. So he extends his regrets for not coming, but he did want me to mention that the shared services agreement with Half Moon is really a benefit to everyone. They'll be caring for the east side of Sidley. We'll be caring for the north and the south. So they have worked really hard in coming together with this agreement and working as a team on this so that traffic moves smoothly for everyone.
I think the agreement's a great idea, John. I have a question relative to the new bridge and the pedestrian access. Are we gonna be able to, I think we already have a plan to connect that on the Clifton Park side to a trail that would go, I guess, to the mall? And then secondly, even though it's not our town, do you know if Half Moon has plans to do the same on their side of it? Once?
Yes, Half Moon previously submitted a TIP application to actually continue sidewalks all the way on Sitterly Road to Route 9. It was unsuccessful, but it is still one of their priorities. So I do think if opportunities arise, Half Moon will be applying. The accommodations right now, what DOT is proposing is 2 6-foot travel lanes, or I'm sorry, 6-foot shoulders with a 5-foot sidewalk on the north side. So you'll have sidewalk, 6-foot shoulder, 2 11-foot travel lanes, 6-foot shoulder on the south side. One of the challenges that we'll have is filling that gap to Sitterly will probably take some grant funding with some federal assistance, because the embankment that drops down to Ellis Hospital and their stormwater management area will most likely have to be relocated to the other side. It's definitely doable. We've done these type of projects, and there is a long-term plan to make those connections. So I think once the Sitterly Road bridge is replaced, it's easier to justify. Now we got a logical gap, so we can go up after state and federal funding sources, where the federal government would provide 80% of the funding. New York State, through its Marchielli program, would provide an additional 15%. The town would have a 5% local match.
I think it's such a, anyone who drives that regularly, you see a lot of pedestrians, especially this time of night when it's dark and rainy and visibility isn't great. So I know the bridge was the first piece, and we have a smaller piece than our neighboring town, but any improvements or, grant money we can get towards that end will be huge.
Agreed. Okay. Any other discussion?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standart?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 275 of 2021, a resolution approving the extension of a contract with Passport Labs Incorporated for web services associated with enforcing traffic violations.
So
Second.
moved by Mr. Morelli, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Tom McCarthy, any comment?
No, this is just a extension of the existing contract and the existing terms and conditions of the cloud-based system that the security staff are using now, and that we're administering out of Town Hall.
Okay. Very good. Any discussion? Okay, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standart?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. I'll also, as I mentioned earlier, we did pass out resolutions that can also be considered. If there's any thought on that at the moment. Obviously we've heard from at least 3 of us tonight that are favoring the opting out. But as far as the timing of the vote, Tom, is there anything to consider there?
No, the deadline to adopt either or both of these resolutions is the end of the year. So if the board wishes to pass it, to consider them tonight, you can consider them either the 13th or the 20th and still meet the statutory deadline for opting out.
Okay.
Wait a minute, we just had, this is the first meeting since we passed a resolution adopting a directive according to state law regarding these kinds of issues. We can't vote on something that was not released to the public without 24 hours notice.
I'm asking if there's any comment on it, that's all. Is there any comment? And I just said, is there any
You're not asking
limitation?
us to move forward with these resolutions?
And I'm asking if there's any limitation as to the timing of a vote, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
just so everybody's aware. Okay,
I'd like to get a copy of those resolutions too. Can you send it electronically to me?
Yes.
sure.
Thank you.
So will this be up next week? Will we make a decision next week?
Yeah, I think we're in a, as far as I'm concerned, with what I'm hearing tonight, I think we're in a position to make a decision.
Okay.
I mean, if that was the question, I mean, I would propose it be added to the next week's agenda.
Yeah.
To opt out, that's where I would stand.
Okay. So again, if there's any questions, refer those to Tom or myself.
So are you asking us to give you our, whether we are voting to opt in or out? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I guess that would be a vote. No, I'm just asking if there's any
So both
comments,
of these
comments
resolutions,
or questions on the resolution.
both of these resolutions will be up for consideration.
All righty. Any other business to come before the board this evening?
I think I'll add to that before
Yeah,
I ask you to turn. I think since we have some media coverage tonight, more people might be aware that we're voting on this very important issue. So our email addresses are in our phone numbers there. So if you have further comment on this, because we vote on it, we really appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from more residents.
There's the hero.
Very good. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
second by Mr. Morelli.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, thank you.
Good night, Amy.